up, my nigga, let's link up.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of The Link Up. It's your boy, Retro Jersey Ron the Don. You know, this is another edition of Off the Court. Of course, I had to bring in my co-host, the man, the myth, the man that claims there's mountains in Minnesota, Mr. Ty. You got a lot of kickback on that, man.
What? Wait, they were flaming me up, boy. They algorithm really worked.
Yeah,
Man, I'm
definitely.
sorry. I apologize to the people in Minnesota. I stand corrected. My bad. It's hills. My bad.
But since our last podcast, you know, we made some predictions. Some came true, some didn't come true. You know, it's been an interesting week of hoops. We got the conference finals going on, WNBA action, more trade speculations. But we're gonna get into it. We're gonna start with the conference finals. Man, that man, Luka Doncic hitting the go-ahead bucket, got the switch he wanted, took Rudy Gobert to the dance floor, step back, quick hitter, three, and the Mavericks go up 2-0 in this series, man. What's your thoughts on this series so far?
The Timberwolves, they look like a team that gas. Especially Ant. And a lot of teams usually go through the fire as far as, maybe they go to the first round, lose, conference finals, and lose. The Timberwolves really haven't really been this far. I think last year they lost, 4-1 and, made it all the way to the conference finals, and they look like a team that's spent. Like they're throwing out every bullet they have, and it's kind of still not enough because Ant got to guard both ends.
Yeah.
And with Rudy, it's going to be a disadvantage because Rudy can't play on the perimeter. You have two of the best one-on-one players, ever to touch a ball in the NBA. And once they get that matchup and it's close in the fourth quarter, they're gonna set Rudy up, pick and roll, and they got closers. So it's a tough matchup. I think if the playoffs is matchup makes the fight. Because I feel like if Denver would have won Game 7, they're a better matchup for the Mavs. But the Timberwolves right now, it just seems like it's a bad matchup to be against those two closers they got over there in Dallas.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the first thing I noticed in these two games is the way the stars are being defended, right? So on the Mavs side, when it comes to guarding Luka, they're going to trap him, but he also has a guy on his team. I don't know if you heard of him, Mr. Number 11, Uncle Drew, Kyrie, step up, take big shots. Now, game 2 wasn't, the best Kyrie game that we've seen, but, he hit shots when it mattered. And then he also got, shooters on the corner, PJ Washington, Tim Hardaway Jr., Derrick Jones Jr. sometimes to a degree. So when they do trap him, Luka, and he also got the lob threats at the rim, which has also been a problem. So when you trapping Luka, I feel like what's really, because everybody say the Mavericks can't win playing the style that Luka plays, but he's such an underrated playmaker that when you try to trap him, he gets into so many like facets of his game, so many elements in his bag, like that he's able to do that. And then on the Timberwolves side, like what I've been noticing in the Denver series, they was trapping and like, trying to make him a playmaker. But the Mavs been playing him 1-on-1. And then Ant's been doing like, I remember the thing about him last year, like people were saying that sometimes he takes like shots that he shouldn't have. And sometimes I feel like in this series thus far, he'll try to ISO. He don't see nothing going towards the rim. He gonna shoot the three, which, sometimes he makes it. But a lot of times during these playoffs, he's had like up and down games where he's not hitting his threes. So I feel like, Dallas keeping that one defender on him and not trapping him and making him a passer so that all the Minnesota's shooters can get hot, like a Karl Anthony Towns, that's making a big impact. I also feel like in this series, as crazy as it seems, Dallas bigs are definitely outplaying Minnesota's bigs, with the exception of Nas Reed, who's been going crazy. You know, Cat can't stay out of foul trouble. Rudy, once he get in the pick and roll, he gets switched off and left on the island. The defensive player of the year talk comes into question because it's like, now it's 1-on-1, and can he really move his feet well to guard somebody like Kyrie or Luka? So in that series, I mean, like with that being said, it's definitely a tougher matchup for the Minnesota Timberwolves, because like in the past rounds, you got the Nuggets, who lacked the depth and was like post centric, so they playing out of the post a lot with Jokic. So it's not really, the same. Like Rudy not gonna be in pick and rolls too much, because really Jamal Murray was the only one running pick and rolls. But when you got people like Kyrie and Luka, it's more different now. So is there any way you see the Timberwolves bouncing back in this series, with all that being said?
Um, in the playoffs, you always have to watch out for a letdown game. Um, so it's possible that they can win a game in Dallas. I don't see them winning two games in Dallas. So I see them at least being down 3-1, if not getting swept. Like I said, it's a bad matchup. Like I watched Ant a lot, in the first previous two series, and the energy was there. He's talking trash. He's playing defense. I've seen the first two games, a lot of walking up the court, even in
Yeah,
the first quarter, which means, you know, he spent a lot. Like, and a lot of people made a lot about him, you know, calling out Kyrie, which is it's just a competitor in him, but Kyrie's a different animal. Like a lot
mm,
of people forgot, that 2016 Kyrie, and he's putting a lot of people back on notice, you know, despite the things he went through the past few years. Some warranted, some not. But he's really showing that he's a problem, and he's only what 32.
yeah,
Um, he's in his prime, and he missed a lot of games, which means he's really kind of fresh to be 32. So I just feel like him and Luca, they meshing well. They pretty much figured it out. Like you said, the lob threats at the rim, the trade was just great for them.
oh
Being
yeah,
able to pretty much unlock Luka and Kyrie at all times. And the scary thing about them is they really haven't played well the first two games. So, and they're up 2-0. So imagine a game where Kyrie really catches fire for a whole game, not just one half, or PJ Washington as he couldn't miss in the last series, or it's just overall a bad matchup for the Timberwolves. So they can win a game, maybe two, but I see Dallas going to the final.
okay. I mean, for me, I don't think it's over yet. We still got to see what's going on with Luca. He was like wincing and limping a little bit up and down the floor, so that's something to definitely keep an eye on, because if he goes down or has to miss a game, this can completely flip the series. But what's interesting to me, it's almost like with the rise of other teams in both conferences, like, I don't know, maybe it's just me feeling that way, but it's almost like Luca and Kyrie and the Mavs almost became like an afterthought, with the ascension of Ant Edwards. Now, like, because don't forget, like, when Luca didn't have Kyrie and all these weapons around him, he was still, pushing the Clippers with Kawhi and PG to game sevens. He was still, willing his team through games in the playoffs. So do you feel like, we haven't talked about, you know, everybody as a whole haven't talked about Luca enough and what he's capable of?
Everybody knows Luca is a bad man. Like I said, his what he's done in the beginning of his career speaks for itself. I think because the Mavs were coming off a down year, not making the playoffs last year, um, there wasn't much expectation. Um, I mean, other than Luka possibly going for MVP, there wasn't championship expectations from the outside. But I think once that trade took place, it was like, okay, are we counting them in championship contention, or they just a dark horse to watch out for? And I think as they gelled towards the end of the season, it was like, yeah, in a playoff series, you have two players that can get you a bucket. And anytime that you can have at least one player, and they have two, um, it's not the regular season where you got to worry about, fatigue and, 4 games and 7 nights. Like, we're playing every other day, and you got to essentially, when it comes down to fourth quarter, if it's close, you have to stop a top five, top 10 offensively gifted player. And I think now that, you know, Luka's putting on his show, it's like he's reminding people, but, it's always been there. I don't think people really, counted them out. It's just matchup. And like I say, as long as if Luka can play, because it's not like he's going out there and trying to be Scottie Pippen, trying to, lock somebody down. So as
Yeah,
long as he can, manipulate the game how he does, you know, they keep scoring. I mean, I don't really see anybody stopping them. As long as Luka's healthy, it's a problem.
I definitely agree. Lee, one of the most talented, offensively talented backcourts we might have ever seen. Um, and so it looks like the sky is the limit for the Mavericks right now. One guy that said they would be in the Western Conference Finals. This guy,
You did.
definitely said that. But taking a look on the other side, of the bracket in the East, the Celtics are currently 2-0 in this series. After a close back and forth game one, they kind of, put their foot down in game two and was able to come out on top in that one with a big game from Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. And with game three set to be underway, in a matter of hours here, it was reported by Woj that Tyrese Halliburton um, will most likely miss the game tonight with the hamstring injury. So with that being said, it looks like we don't know what happens until the game happens, but it's looking more likely that the Celtics are going up 3-0 and potentially closing out this series. What are your thoughts on their run as of late?
Uh, Once again, playoffs is about matchups and it's about luck. The Celtics over the past few years have been on the wrong side of and also ran into teams that I feel like wanted it more. But I feel like this year, definitely, definitely. But I feel like this year, luck has been on their side with injuries to the other stars in the Eastern Conference. So, I mean, regardless if the Pacers had Tyrese or not, I just feel like, yeah, the Pacers can get a game, but they're no real threat to the Celtics. Celtics has been here. They have the experience. They know that nothing else matters. Having a top seed in the conference, 60 some wins. None of that matters if they don't bring home the trophy. So I think their mindset is more so continue to build, you know, championship habits and try to, stay as healthy as possible because they know they don't really face a challenge until the finals. Because Indiana already is, don't have the experience and being down their leader, it's possible they can have a letdown tonight, not take the Pacers serious. It's possible. But no, they're not putting no fear in their heart. So it kind of sucks what happened in the East this year. But you know, Celtics know they pretty much it's cakewalk at this point, and we'll see what the real Celtics in about maybe a week, couple weeks from now.
Yeah, I think June 6th. Is it June 6th when the finals? Yeah, June 6th.
Yeah, right
So,
now it's like they just doing what they supposed to do. You beat up on a, a injured pretty much Heat team all year. Um, Second round, I mean, Cavaliers fell apart, injury wise, and
hmm
now the Pacers missing their best player. So I just think it's their time. It's their time. as far as being on the good side of the injury bug.
So
And
you
with like
agree with the, sorry to cut you off, but you agree with the narrative that this is the easiest path that somebody's ever had to the NBA final?
I, I gotta think back, but it's definitely up there. Um, I think the Warriors, one of their title runs, might have been the first one with KD. Might have been easy. It's right up there as far as I think every team they faced, injury came along the way as far as the opposite side. Even though they had the clear advantage. I
Mm-hmm.
remember, I think the Spurs was up by 20 and Kawhi got hurt, and there was no point in watching that anymore once Kawhi got hurt.
Zaza.
Um, yeah, definitely. Uh, but yeah, it's up there, definitely, as far as easiest path.
I mean, for me, as a Celtics hater and a Heat fan, I'm not gonna take nothing away from this team. They bench is not the most talented. They are without Porzingis. As long as Jalen Brown, and Jason Tatum, the two J's, show up and do what they gotta do, it's gonna be fine. They ran through the regular season, got the number one overall seed for the rest of the playoffs. So can't be mad at them. But I do agree. I feel like if you don't get it done this season, no matter who you face, the defending champs is not, in the race anymore. You got two teams who collectively have never been to the finals before, battling out in the West. And you have, Drew Holiday is a champion. So it's like it'll be a lot of questions that'll need to get answered if they don't win this championship.
I know I'm speaking prematurely because the West is not decided, but I'm warming up to the idea of Kyrie going back to Boston and potentially snatching that championship from the Celtics.
Oh
That'd be
yeah?
a great storyline though. That'd be a great storyline because like you say, a lot of things were said when he was there and then how he left, and it'll
Hmm.
be intriguing though.
I was gonna say you gonna go Charles Barkley on me?
Nah, not yet. But
Okay, okay.
I'm
Thought you.
just I'm trying to get something to look forward to. These finals.
I got you. I definitely think if that is the case, it's gonna be a problem on both sides. Hopefully, like I said, it's all about them Jays, man. Like Jason Tatum up and down, up and down. Jalen Brown has had a good playoff run. I can honestly say, and like if Porzingis come back, that'll be a problem on both ends. It's just all about who gonna guard Luca and Kyrie. Can Derek White and Drew Holiday get it done? And on the other end, who gonna guard Tatum and Brown? And if Porzingis come back, that's just gonna add an extra layer. But speaking of the Celtics, one of the teams that they eliminated in this playoffs was the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now we talked a little bit about the Cavaliers situation on the last pod. The potential outcomes of the whole Donovan Mitchell situation. It seems that the Cavaliers are growing increasingly confident that they will be able to extend Mitchell and retain him this offseason. We saw them fire JB Bickerstaff. There was reports that Dan Gilbert is going to be heavily involved. I think that came via Brian Windhorst on Cleveland radio. What are your thoughts on this situation? I know I asked you last week, being that all this information is at hand, do you still see Donovan Mitchell in the Cavaliers jersey next season?
I want to start out by saying I'm hoping I'm wrong about this, but it kind of seems like he wants to stay. There's been reports that he and the coach didn't really get along. Also, one of the Morris twins came out and stated that there was issues in the locker room um, between certain players and the coach. And usually, a coach doesn't get fired unless the star player signs off on it. That's usually how it works in the NBA. So it's looking like they're trying not to lose another star,
Mm-hmm.
um, and they're going to cater to what Donovan Mitchell wants. And if that's the case, then it's looking more and more like that, more likely that he's staying in Cleveland.
So if he stays in Cleveland, obviously there's, reports that if he stays in Cleveland, Darius Garland might want out. The two big lineup not necessarily working. Do you see this Cavaliers team actually getting better by keeping Donovan Mitchell and getting rid of Allen and Garland? I know it
Uh,
depends on what they get back. It's been reported, maybe a trade for Brandon Ingram, sending out either Garland or Allen in a trade. I could see Garland and San Antonio maybe. Uh, they might be interested. I know it depends on what they get back, but seeing how the East is getting more and more competitive, do you see Donovan Mitchell leading the Cavaliers to a conference finals, NBA finals if he does stay?
Me personally, I don't see it. But all reports are saying that's where he wants to be. Like I said, he's a New York guy. Um, right now the Knicks don't really need him, so that ship is kind of sailed. So it kind of seemed like he wants to take a hold of his franchise and be the reason why they're relevant or successful. But as currently constructed, they're a solid team. But like you said, a lot of pieces are going to have to be moved. You know, because he wants to stay. So I don't really see them, being a top four, top five seed, in the East. So then it begs the question of why. I guess we'll find out as the summer goes, but no, I don't see them staying in contention if he stays.
Yeah, I hate to say it this way, but it does all depend on who they get back. It depends on the ascension of Evan Mobley. Is he going to turn out to be the player that everybody thought he was? Maybe Chris Bosh 2.0.
Hmm.
Is he going to reach his fullest potential? If he does, I could definitely see, them potentially get into a conference finals. Especially like once Garland is out of there, Mitchell will have the ball more, be able to make more decisions. You surround him with more shooters to get him scoring help. That should ease the pressure off of him to in an environment that they can survive the East. Especially if it's a year like this year, people go down left and right. Maybe something could break right for them. But as far as Donovan Mitchell, I don't know. I never seen him as a 1A type of guy personally, but he's no doubt all NBA type caliber player. You can make the argument in that draft class, he's the second best player behind Jason Tatum. You got Bam in there, Fox, guys like that. But you can make the argument that behind Tatum, he's the second best. So, I wouldn't be shocked if they do have great success, but it does depend on what coach they bring in there, the type of culture that's set there. Hopefully for him, it does remain competitive if he stay. For selfish reasons, I'm hoping he come to the dark side, the red and black side. But, we shall see. Being that Donovan Mitchell is a former All NBA player, I believe. Is he? I don't even know. I'm just.
I think he made third team one year. Somebody out there probably gonna fact check me again, but I want to say at least third team. I mean, one of his years
Hey,
in it might have been his first year in Cleveland. I think he was third team. And
uh,
if he didn't, he's definitely all NBA talent. That's for sure.
have you gotten a chance to see the All NBA teams? I wanted to get your opinion on this.
I did. Um, I had one guy I wanted on there, you know, selfishly, but
Okay.
after looking at the team, I don't really see one person that you can take off. So all in all, that means they voted correctly.
If you don't mind, who was this guy that you wanted to see on there?
A little biased, but it was Bam
Okay.
Adebayo.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, right? Because Bam is already at a disadvantage because he doesn't have the most flashiest game,
Yeah.
and people look at him as a defensive player, even though he hasn't won Defensive Player of the Year, which is crazy. He definitely should have
Wow.
won it over Marcus Smart that year when we was the
Definitely.
number 1 seed. To each their own. Yeah, with the year Sabonis had, uh, Anthony Davis went crazy. Obviously you got Jokic, Tatum. I really don't see him being bumped off the list. I mean, well, Bam, anybody being bumped off the list for Bam. I think
Yeah.
Bam has to get his offensive numbers up, which, he starts shooting that three ball,
Hmm.
we'll see. He might have some down the line in his future, because he'll
Yeah.
definitely be a two-way, bona fide two-way superstar if he get that in his game.
Yeah.
But one that stood out to me, I had no problem with it because, obviously when the things were clicking for the Clippers, excuse me, Kawhi Leonard was definitely playing, you know, at the top tier level. I was just surprised to see him like on third team. I mean, on second team.
Uh, I wasn't uh one because I think this year is probably most games he's played in a few years, 2 or 3 years.
True.
Um, and when he played, he was a problem. Even the game that I attended this year when they played the Heat, squad on both ends definitely was a problem. Um, and he if he didn't tail off at the toward the end of the year, he probably even got more votes for first team. He might not have made it, but he would have got more votes. He really had a solid year this year. And like I said, when healthy, we know Kawhi is top 15. Pushing top 10 at this point in his career. Um, it's just the injury problem, but he definitely had a solid year this year. And to me, deservingly made second team. Hmm.
Do you think Jalen Brown deserved to make it? I know he said, he cares about making the finals and winning that championship, but do you think he deserved to make it?
He had a good year this year. Like I said, he deserved it. A lot of people deserved it. I feel like Tyrese Maxey, you could have made the argument for him this year, but when you actually look at the team, it's like who do you take off to get to that point? Like I said, even like I was trying to pull up Kawhi's actually stats this year. Just you know for the sake of argument,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like when you really look at it, who can you take off? So Kawhi, I would say this year, what 24 points a game, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 52% shooting. He played 68 games, and for Kawhi, that's
A lot.
that's a lot.
Yeah.
And I want to say, if you wanted to cross check Jalen Brown and Kawhi, I would say the game that stood out to me was when I think the Clippers went to Boston, and I want to say they beat them by at least 15. That's another fact check. Somebody's gonna fact check me on that too. But it was just, it showed if the Clippers were healthy and whole, these playoffs would have looked a lot different in my opinion. But that's the story of the Clippers every year.
Yeah.
But I would say, looking at Kawhi's season, catch them because I caught a lot of Clipper games because I was very interested in the dynamic when they got James Harden and the fit. Westbrook coming off the bench. I was very, intrigued about how they would do, and I caught a lot of Kawhi games this year. And if anybody, you could make it, I believe he was definitely deserving of second team.
Do you think the Clippers run it back again next year? Do you think they should?
I don't see why not. You going into a new building, you got to sell seats.
Yeah.
Um, and like I said, it's been the same tune for the last 3, 4, 5 years about their injury problems. But going back to my Celtics, example, they had the same issue. Injuries, just kind of catching the wrong team, wrong matchup, and it's like you have to make that decision to keep together, break it up. I just feel like for them to break it up, it's like where do you go? Because they already a tag team, so like not bringing it back, it's not like you can go out there to sign anybody,
Mm-hmm.
because of the prior commitments you made, and you traded for Paul George and gave up, all those draft picks, you know, so you really don't have the opportunity to build like that. So it's like you kind of have no choice but to run it back and just hope for help because the way their team is, a 7 game series fully healthy, I give them a shot against anybody, but they have to be healthy.
I mean, I don't know. Like with me, I just feel like this roster is getting older and older every year. Russell Westbrook, one of my favorite players of all time. I want him to win a ring. Can they do it in LA? Every year. Can they stay healthy? Every year. They not healthy. And the older you get, this stuff just doesn't get better. You don't get healthier as you get older. Even LeBron, in the early parts of LeBron year, I mean, early parts of LeBron career, he rarely got hurt. Ever since he been with the Lakers and he's gotten older, just injury after injury after injury, and this like one of the most durable people in sports. So it's like, it's one of them things. I get it. They got no draft capital, but what you could do, you could trade all these, you know, people for, like, say, for instance, PG decides to leave. You could do a sign and trade. Make sure you get somebody younger back. They need to get younger. And, you know, and you could possibly get a pick or two back, in a sign and trade with him if he does choose to walk. You got the James Harden question. Are you going to pay him? Are you going to let him walk? So it's like they could free up some money. It's just really up to them and what they decide to do with their roster. But I know, Steve Ballmer don't look like the kind of guy that's going, just let his team get trash. So
Hmm.
I get it. New arena, they want to fill the seats, but I don't know. I just get tired of seeing the same team lose for the same reason.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Keep in mind they're all LA guys, so it's
yeah,
it's it's kind of one of them things of like they're stuck, you know. It's a sticky situation. It's like you can try to maneuver and get creative and sign them trades but it's no guarantee that, I mean, unless you're only doing it for draft capital, there's no guarantee that you're gonna be somebody next year because the main person that kind of gets hurt is the only person that's really locked up right now. Everybody else, PG is going to be a free agent. James a free agent. Russ has a player option. So that's the main piece. And does PG want to come back and play with that main piece, seeing that the last few years it just hasn't worked. But
hmm
I think PG is the key to this. I'm pretty sure James wants to come back, but Kawhi and James not steering nobody. So it's it all starts with PG and his decision because I can see PG fitting on a lot of teams um, seamlessly and making them better. But
I was gonna say, I don't know if you heard, but Evan Turner said if he go to Philadelphia, that would be the weakest duo in history.
I wouldn't say that because but that's another player with injury history. But everybody knows Joel Embiid fully healthy, and even sometimes not even fully healthy, can't nobody stop. So I wouldn't say it's the weakest. It wouldn't be the weakest duo, but once again, rolling the dice. Hopefully, he can stay healthy. But I'm a Heat fan, so I honestly I don't care if they not wearing that red and black and white. I don't care.
I respect it. I respect it. Speaking of the Heat, they got the 15th draft pick in this year's draft, and a guy that has been mocked to them has been Zach Edey on a couple of mocks. Do you feel like his game will translate well in the NBA?
Depend on what you're trying to use him for. I feel like if you're picking him to be a starting center, somebody to be relied on um, early, I don't feel like that's his game. Um, Especially now with everything pace and space, pick and roll basketball. Like you see what they're doing to Rudy Gobert, and that's quote unquote 4-time defensive player of the year. So, and Edey to me moves slower than that. So I just don't see it. I'm hoping he does not select him. Personally, no hate Zach Edey, but I just see it. If you want to, him your backup big, playing some minutes, But as far as relying on him, I feel like first round pick, you're banking on the future, and these are the guys that you know supposed to win you games, especially when it comes to fourth quarter. And I just feel like the way the NBA is now, he's going to be a defensive liability with all this offensive talent. And I don't have to go drive to the basket. I can literally just pick and roll you to death and get you out on the island and swing, 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 open shot. And then you can't play him. So why draft a player that's going to be unplayable in different matchups? That is my opinion.
Now, I do feel like it's fit dependent. Like if he go to a team, say Boston, the backup for Zingis, I feel like that'll be a great fit for him. I feel like he can come in. Yeah, you worry about the defense, but being that Boston has so many other switchable weapons on defense, all he got to do is just clog that paint. At least in the regular season, in the playoffs, they gonna try to expose him. But I feel like he got great touch around the basket. I know shooting in an empty gym doesn't really mean nothing, but at the combine, his shooting form, his shooting numbers are pretty decent. And like, he's been getting comparisons to any large basketball player from Taco Fall to Boban to Yao Ming. But to me, I see him as an Ennis Cantor. I see
Disrespectful to Yao. By the way, Yao was a problem. That's very disrespectful.
nah, he was, but I think people are just going off of size and But
Mm.
I honestly think like he can come off like me. I see like Ennis Cantor. Like Ennis Cantor wasn't the most skilled defensive big at all, but like he'll come off the bench and get you almost 10 and 10. So I feel like with Edie's touch around the basket, he could fit that same role. Like he just come off the bench, get you 10 boards, get you 10 points. Like I feel like he could easily do that in the league. I could see him on a team maybe backing up Jokic, for a couple of minutes, something like that. But I just feel like it's fit. Now, whether he's a lottery pick or not is to be determined. But I definitely think there's a place for him in the league. It definitely if he can score.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely a place for him in the league. Don't get me wrong, but you know, I'm to the era. It's a different era. I'm not picking him to be my starting center. I'm not picking him to get me 20 and 10. Like the era, it's a different game. So it's like, yeah, it's a regular season, playoffs, they're gonna exploit matchups, but it's like that's what I'm worried about, the playoffs. Like I'm not worried about how many games you play in a regular season. Yeah, we got to get to playoffs, but if you can't be on the floor because they're gonna pick on you, what good does it do me? Like that's
Yeah.
why I said backup big. Big is in foul trouble. Big needs a a little rest here and there. I get it, but I just feel like if it was a 2004 NBA draft, he might go top five. He just might. But the game is just a different game, and if you can only defend at the rim, then what good are you? Like look at Dallas too big. They're both agile. Yeah, they can block shots at the rim, and that's where they're most effective. But I've seen them many times switch out, and yeah, they're not going to stop a perimeter player, but they can at least maybe challenge a shot, or it don't look like how Rudy Gobert looked like he was on skates last night. It's totally different. Like if you're gonna have a big, he needs to be able to move. That's just the era that we're in right now.
I respect it. It's TBD. But we talking about the future of the league. Uh, one of the things I love best about the NBA is getting to watch my guys, Ernie, Shaq, Kenny, and Chuck, every Thursday night on TNT. It's rumors that one of my favorite shows could potentially be coming to an end. The NBA is in the process of doing a new media rights deal. We already got Disney, NBC, Amazon lined up. Right now, it's not a done deal, but it's not looking too good as far as, Warner Bros. And Turner matching any type of money or paying more. Is this a major blow to the culture, man?
Uh, I'm torn on this. I'm not gonna even lie. On one hand, I grew up watching it, so it kind of holds a special place to me. On the other hand, we're in the era of 24/7 media with podcasts such as this one. But yeah, I think it's one of those things where you never want to see good shows and good programs end. Um, and I don't think nobody would be able to, touch at least soon like their run that they've been on for, 20, 30 years. But I think it's coming to an end with the way that media is done today. It's probably a good time, you know, unfortunately, to probably, be on its last wave or last few shows because, media just is just different now.
I don't know, man. This a tough one. One that might bring a tear to my eye, man. Like Charles Barkley reminds me a lot of somebody who was very close to me. So like it's one of them things,
Very true. Very
you
true.
know. And those guys, they like four, distant uncles that you get to watch on TNT, every week during the basketball season. So it'll be tough, you know. It's just like I don't know. I feel like it'll be hard to get another Charles Barkley, man, to get another Shaq, get another Ernie, even a Kenny on TV. Like, I don't think it'll ever be duplicated ever again. Um, I never forget, like, one, this was during the playoffs. I think right after Drake had dropped Views, and they was doing, like, basically like swapping everybody out. And Charles Barkley, like he was doing like the views from like a Krispy Kreme, and then they show
Oh
Shaq.
yeah, views
Shaq
from
was
Kobe
on
shoulders.
Kobe's shoulders. That's
Yeah,
one of the
yeah.
that's one of the my personal favorite moments. That and whenever he talk about San Antonio women,
Oh yeah, yeah.
definitely.
I won't do that because
Oh
he
yeah,
did
you
enough.
already
He did
you already
enough for
got
that one.
problems in another city. So
Yeah, yeah. So I'm not gonna do that. But what I will say is, our toughest time I would say during COVID, they were definitely a breath of fresh air as far as being able, to commentate on the bubble. And
yeah,
I think Charles, famous one, I think from that bubble was he had picked Portland to upset the Lakers that year. Portland, I think, when they still had Dame and Melo, headman Melo, and Portland ended up stealing game one, and Charles actually got his prediction right. So when the post game came on, there were no words. All you saw was Charles sweeping the ground, and they was like, "What you doing?" And he was like, "Sweep, sweep." And it's just like it's just entertaining. The rest of that series ended up being 4-1,
yeah,
but it just they provide a lot of entertaining moments, bringing celebrities, rappers, different things. I always I've been a fan of the gone fishing segment in the playoffs. How they get creative with that. Of course, they brought Shaq in the pool. Shaq was
yeah.
doing that prior to joining the show, but they brought that over.
JaVale McGee.
Like it's been a lot of funny moments that, like I said, never you probably never be able to duplicate. Luckily, we still have YouTube to go back if it does get canceled, but it's kind of looking like it's headed that direction. So me personally, I'm trying to enjoy every moment that they have left. That's why, even though I'm picking Dallas to win this series, I'm kind of hoping it does get extended to Game 7, just to get some more shows, more commentary before
Definitely.
it possibly ends.
Definitely. I mean, it'll be a sad end of an era. I don't expect them to work forever or anything like that, but it'd just be definitely a loss. But we entering a new era specifically in women's basketball. And life has been tough for, our girl Caitlin Clark, man. She definitely getting a welcome to the league, initiation every game she step into. I don't know if you saw that foul against the Seattle Storm.
Yeah, I seen
Uh,
that.
I don't
That
know
shit
if it
was.
was Jewel Lloyd or Enrique. Not
Mm,
Enrique. Dang.
I
One
forgot
of
the first name.
the Agumake.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I know you
yeah.
talking about.
But they definitely welcomed her to the league. It's been causing a stir on social media. Somebody, we saw Angel Reese tweet after they beat the Liberty, and I quote, and that's on getting a win in a packed arena, not just because of one player on our charter flight, hashtag Skytown. A lot of people, believe this was a shot at Caitlin Clark. Um, like, what is your thoughts on this? Because, some people are saying it's a racism thing. Some people saying that the WNBA players are just hating. Others are saying they should be appreciative because Caitlin brought a lot of eyes and value to the game. What's your thoughts on this?
I see it, I see it as hate. You have somebody that's coming, through and changing things, changing narrative. You know, I just feel like, as a competitor, I understand because you feel your value in yourself. But at the end of the day, like she's putting eyes on things that nobody really cared for. So, it was well documented of how they had to take public, you know, planes and be in, airports just like, like they wasn't on a professional team. And now,
Yeah,
with the teams getting chartered flight, like, it's got something to do with the star power. Like, let's just be honest. And, it's kind of it's a target on her back right now, but I just feel like it's gonna build character, lay down the line for her. But it's definitely some unwarranted hate. You can't help who you are, how you play. Like just you. Um, it's been some NBA players, early on their career kind of went through the same thing. Like
I was gonna ask that.
I watched the video yesterday where LeBron was saying that he actually has clips of what his teammates said before he even joined the
Mm-hmm.
Cavaliers, as far as, an 18-year-old won't be able to do this, and, he come to play with us and he could just watch us do what we do. And it when you're, destined for greatness, sometimes, the hate comes with it. You have to be able to embrace the hate as much as you do the love. And, that's just how I feel. But like I say, as long as her play keeps, getting better, you know what I'm saying? People giving her a rough time. Like, she just came off an NCAA tournament run, like, and you playing with different people. The pace of the style of play, the pace is different. But, I feel like once she gets her footing under her, she'll be good to go. And, you don't have to worry about the hate. Just let your game do the talking, and then it'll eventually shut people up.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the LeBron thing because I was gonna ask you because like to me it felt very similar from when he had got in the league and everybody like y'all crowning this person as the next face of the league and he had to go through all that stuff, you know, just to get to where he is today. And the thing that blows my mind is like, do people not realize the whole point of like a team getting the number one overall pick is because the team that previous year sucked. So do they expect her
percent.
to like? She just one person. Shout out Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, who been balling. But like she's still just one person. They can't just change it around, in 1 year. Like I don't even know if that's ever happened. Despite the Lakers, who ended up with James Worthy like as an early draft pick. Like nobody just came in and just took their team to the championship right away. And I also feel like it's unfair because it's not just Caitlin Clark who gets attention. They might not get as much, but Cameron Brink gets attention. Andrew Reese gets attention. Like it's other players who that just came in who was bringing more eyes to the league. It's not just Caitlin Clark herself. So the fact that people believe that is crazy. I don't want to get too deep into the race thing. I definitely think it plays a little bit of a part, but I don't think it should matter. Like she cold, bruh. If you a
Yeah,
great player, you a great player. Like for me, I like watching her hoop. I don't think it matters whether she black, white, green, or blue. Like you go out there and put up buckets, like you like that.
yeah,
So I'm pretty like she said, she not on social media, she not worrying about it, she just trying to hoop. So as long as she stick with that, I think she'll be straight, honestly. So,
I agree.
to everybody else, it just take time, man. None of the greats were great right away. Even though
Yeah,
y'all like to say Michael is the greatest of all time, he struggled for many years before he reached the mountaintop. LeBron struggled for many years before he reached the mountaintop. Steph Curry almost got traded, bruh. You know, before he reached the mountaintop. So it's just gonna take time. It's gonna take a couple of years. One person can't do it themselves.
yes,
So
sir.
that's all I got to say about that. Before we get up on out of here, anything you want to say, address, them people on your back. So
Hey, man. I just wanna, cause one thing y'all probably don't know about me, I don't think I addressed this last podcast, but I'm a Minnesota Viking fan. So this really hurted me that y'all came after me about me saying about the mountains. I apologize. I ain't never been to Minnesota. That's on my bucket list to go to a Minnesota Viking game in person. So I'm glad that I ain't gotta drive up no mountain, climb up no mountain, or nothing to get where I need to go. I appreciate y'all letting me know that. But on serious tip, I just apologize for saying this mountain. But other than that, nah, you know, it's been a very interesting, playoff. I'm more of, football guy, but I like my basketball too. And basketball this year has definitely kept me entertained, until football season come. And that's probably when y'all really gonna see the real, personality come out. 'Cause definitely, diehard football fan. But outside of that, no. I just, want people to stay blessed, stay healthy.
yes, sir. And on that note, we up out of here. As always, I'm your host, Mr. Retro Jersey himself, Ron the Don. My co-host for Off the Court, Mr. Ty. Follow him on the gram. We're gonna put that on here, and we out.